Hi, welcome back from the previous lesson. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing now is the proof of the quadratic formula. Before I do that, I need to one more time complete the square and go through the process very slowly. Well, if I subtract 5 on both sides, I have x squared minus 6x equals negative 5. Let's look at what we have. If I go through this, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. The first thing I'm going to do is, let's make this number into 1. How do we do that? Divide both sides of the equation by a. Because whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side of the equation. So I'm left with x squared plus b over ax plus c over a is equal to 0. And again, by subtracting 5 on both sides of the equation, I will subtract c over a on both sides of the equation. So now I'm left with x squared plus b over a x equals negative c over a. Now let's do the next step, which is completing the square. Let's take half of negative 6 and half of negative 6, which is negative 3, and I'll square it. So I'm going to take negative 3 squared, and I'm going to take negative 3 squared, which is 9, to both sides of the equation. So look what I'm left with now. X minus 3 to the second power is equal to negative 5 plus 9 is 4. Okay, let's do it again. I'm going to take b over a divided by 2. So now I have b over 2a. And square it. So if that's the case, I have b squared over 4a squared on this side plus these boards are wonderful, however, at times, plus b squared over 4a squared on this side, and since I had negative c over a already, plus b squared over 4a squared on this side. Now let's look at what I'm left with here. If I factor this, I have x plus b over 2a squared. Once again, I'm completing the square. Equals negative c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. Wait a second. When you add or subtract fractions, what do I have to have? A common denominator. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 4a. And look what I'm left with. X plus b over 2a squared is equal to b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. This hopefully is starting to look familiar to some of you. Let's go backwards to the other example. Well, what do I have to do to solve for x? Well, whatever you do on one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So what I'm going to do is take the square root on both sides of the equation. So I'm left with x minus 3 is equal to plus or minus square root of 4. Of course, x minus 3 is equal to plus or minus 2. If I add 3 to both sides of the equation, x is equal to 3 plus 2, and x is equal to 3 minus 2. So x is equal to 5, and x is equal to 1. Isn't that what we had before when we did the factoring piece? Let's look at it again. If I turn around and take the square root on both sides, plus or minus, look what I'm left with. Square root plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over square root of 4a squared. Well, the square root of 4a squared is obviously 2a. So I'm left with now x plus b over 2a, which is equal to plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now what I'm going to do is I will subtract b over 2a from both sides of the equation. Let's look at what we're finally left with. X is equal to negative b. Since I have a common denominator, let me write it all in one line. Plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. I hope this looks familiar to you. This is called the quadratic formula, and we are now through. Now let's see how this works with the example I just gave you. I just did with you x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. No, that's not the one I gave you. I gave you x squared equal minus 5x plus 5 is equal to 0. That's the one we had in the beginning of the lesson. Well, let's look at this. A is equal to 1, B is equal to negative 6, C is equal to 5. And you plug in all the numbers, negative 6, which is 6, plus or minus square root of b squared, 36, minus 4 times 1 minus 4 times 1 times 5 over 2 times 1, which is 6 plus or minus 36 minus 20 over 2, which gives you 6 plus or minus 16 over 2, 6 plus or minus 4 over 2, which is 3 plus or minus 2. And again, 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. Lo and behold, we have the same answers that we had there. That's the quadratic formula. Good luck while you try practicing it. More importantly, understand it.